Thanks for staying with us. It's time now to take a look at stories making headlines on the front page of Nigerian newspapers. And I begin with the Nigerian News Direct. The major story here says subsidy palliatives. Federal government approves 5 billion naira grant for states, federal capital territory. Subsidy palliatives. Federal government approves 5 billion naira grant for states, federal capital territory. All the details on the front page of the Nigerian News Direct. To this Nigerian newspaper now, federal government approves 5 billion naira to each state, federal capital territory as palliatives. Federal government approves 5 billion naira to each state, federal capital territory as palliatives. You find details on the front page of this Nigeria newspaper. Voice of Liberty newspaper now, subsidy removal. Federal government announces 5 billion naira palliative for each state to address impact. Subsidy removal. Federal government announces 5 billion naira palliative for each state to address impact. You find all the details on the Voice of Liberty newspaper. And still talking about the palliatives, Daily Independent now. Federal government gives states 5 billion naira each as palliative over subsidy removal. Federal government gives states 5 billion naira each as palliative over subsidy removal. Details on the front page of the Daily Independent. To the front page of the Blueprint. And still talking the subsidy, the palliatives rather, fuel subsidy removal. Nigerians urge transparency as federal government okays 185 billion naira lifeline to states, federal capital territory. Blueprint, fuel subsidy removal. Nigerians urge transparency as federal government okays 185 billion naira lifeline to states, federal capital territory. And on the Punch, on the front page of the Punch newspaper, Labour faults 180 billion naira palliative, says governors will frustrate program. Punch newspaper, Labour faults 180 billion naira palliative, says governors will frustrate program. Details on the front page of the Punch newspaper. Mike?
All right, I have the first news here, and it says 6.9 billion naira fraud charge, and Emefiele wept. Right? 6.9 billion naira fraud charge, and Emefiele wept, referring to the suspended governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele. Now, let's move to the Guardian newspaper. Reign of yesterday's men, multiple ex-governors turn godfathers, unsettled governance in states. Reign of yesterday's men, multiple ex-governors turn godfathers, unsettled governance in states. That's what the Guardian newspaper has there. You need to read this to get the details of what the story is talking about. You have the faces of former governors of various states in there, and then their successors in the various states. You have it there. So you need to read to get the details of what that means on the front page of the Guardian newspaper. Business Day is next, and the big story there says 5 agro-commodities can earn Nigeria scarce dollars. 5 agro-commodities can earn Nigeria scarce dollars. That's what the big story is on the front page of the Business Day. Leadership newspaper is the next one. It says smuggling operational costs threaten rice production in the north. Smuggling operational costs threaten rice production in the north. All right, that's what you see on the Friday leadership there. And the last one we're looking at now is Salient Times. The Salient Times newspaper says over 1,680 students kidnapped in Nigeria since 2014. Save the Children is coming up with this report that over 1,680 students kidnapped in Nigeria since 2014. And that's the last one we're looking at right now. Veronica?
That's a staggering figure, Mike. Over 1,680 students, that's the story we will be talking about, kidnapped in Nigeria since 2014. Save the Children, an organization talking about this. Recall that we had the Safe School initiatives to address issues of kidnapping after the incident we had with the Chibok girls, if I recall correctly. And since then, we've seen a number.
We've seen the Kankara students, we've seen the Dapchi,
We've seen a number of kidnappings across the country happening. And the question is, what happened to that initiative? Because a huge amount was donated to that effect to kickstart, that initiative across schools. And we see that didn't fly. What happened? The question was, what happened? What even happened to the monies that was donated to that effect? Why are we not seemingly committed to ensuring the safety of the students whom we often say are the leaders of tomorrow? What are our plans towards ensuring that they are safe? We even saw, we are still dealing with the number of out-of-school children, over 10 million of them. And we saw that when we had those issues across the northeast, kidnapping of students, even in Kaduna State, that some parents said they were withdrawing their children from schools as a result of this matter of kidnapping. How committed are we to ensuring our children are safe when we send them to schools is still the question.
Yeah, the issue there is when it comes to security, security is not a tangible commodity you're going to see and feel and assess and all of that. That's the irony of it. The moment there is a security or intelligence or an intel that something is going to happen here, something wrong is going to happen here, and monies and resources are deployed to preventing from happening, sometimes you don't know the magnitude, you don't know the volume, you don't know the extent of what went behind the scenes to ensure that it doesn't happen. So the moment it doesn't happen, then that money has been justified.
Absolutely.
Good. So it becomes challenging to question what happened to that money as it is. But the concern that Nigerians have is that the moment we hear that any student is kidnapped anywhere, then it becomes challenging, it becomes worrying naturally. But we know that the resources that we have when it comes to security is not adequate enough to cover the entire state, to cover the entire local government and the entire country, as the case may be. But we have seen that the frequency of kidnapping of students have reduced over time. The frequency has drastically reduced. But however, we know that there are some students that are still in captivity. So long as all the Chibok girls are not back, they all cannot be accounted for.
They are no longer girls. They are
women.
Yeah.
Exactly. They are women now.
Yeah.
But if they are not back to be reunited with their families the way it was before, then it means they are still in captivity. Just about a week or so ago, one of them was brought to meet with the First Lady, and we saw the pictures, we saw all of that. So it means they're still somewhere. There are still some others. Do you recall the other one we're talking about, I think in Zamfara State, that they were calling for help from the government and so on. So we have all of those issues. But what Nigerians want now is for everybody to be able to go to school, especially girls, and especially also in the north, because if you check the over 10 million out-of-school children, more than 50% of those people
are girls,
and also in the north. So the point there is, whether it is in Sokoto or in Katsina or in Yobe or Borno
across
State,
the country, actually,
it remains Nigeria. And that is why everyone is looking at this to ensure that government does everything it needs to do, not only to protect students, because if you protect students and their parents are kidnapped or their parents are attacked, as the case may be, then it becomes the same cycle. Because when the parents are not there, who takes care of the children? Who will sponsor them to school?
Yeah.
So that's the thing. So there has to be a conscious effort. We saw what happened in Plateau State, and we saw the response of government, and it is gaining results. There's peace now in Mangu from the reports we're getting, although it can be better, yeah, but then peace is returning to the plateau. And then Benue State is another state that has been having, although the character of the issues in Benue might not be the same in other states, but then we see the conscious effort of government and security agents to try to ensure that normalcy returns to parts of the country. That is what we want. Otherwise, all of this economic policies and all the strategies and so on, investment here, investment there, will amount to naught if there is still not security. Because security is number one. The moment there is security, then there can be investment, then there can be traveling, and then there can be economic activity here and there. There can be transactions. So, and that is what we want.
Absolutely, absolutely. We hope that we would begin to see some tangible results, and this number would have gotten to its barest minimum in the coming days with regards to ensuring safety of students in schools. We have to leave the conversation here now.